What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp Essentials tutorial for you. So in today's video, we're going to talk about using the Follow Me tool to create trim and molding in your SketchUp model. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I wanted to create this specifically in the context of using SketchUp to create molding and trim for woodworkers, but you can use this for other things as well. It's especially useful if you want to create like crown molding in rooms or base around the room or trim on a woodworking model. So the way this works is, let's say you have a piece of wood base just like this. So basically what this is this is a shape that's been extruded to create a 3D object. So if you look at the end here, every shape like this has a profile. And a profile is just what this would look like if you took a section cut like right through the middle of it. So like you can see the end here, but if I take a cut right through the middle of this, you can see the profile is basically the shape that makes up your object. So this would be your wood that you would use, or the wood shape you would need in order to create this trim. We're going to use the Follow Me tool to create those extrusions where we want them. So like for example, if I take this end piece, so if I click on this and I just make a copy over here using the move tool in copy mode, right now if I was to draw this profile of this piece of base and then I use the push-pull tool to extrude it, this is just like using that to extrude just like a box. So you just push-pull it up. So you just push-pull it up and down. That's basically what we're doing with the Follow Me tool. But in this case, what we're going to do is, I'll delete this piece out. The Follow Me tool will extrude these objects along a path for you. So like for example, if I have this piece, instead of using the push-pull tool, if I was to draw a line right along here, select it, then activate the Follow Me tool and click on this face, then you can see how this extruded that along the line. And when you're doing something flat like this, it doesn't really matter because you could just push-pull it. But that gets more complicated when you want to do things like turn this around a corner or create something around a room or around the top of a bookcase or something like that. And so basically what you can do is you can select a full path and then use the Follow Me tool to extrude that. And a little note, so the Follow Me tool doesn't show up in your basic tool set. You're going to have to turn on your advanced tool set to get to this one. So you're just going to go up to View, Toolbars. You're going to want to go down to Large Tool Set and check the box for Large Tool Set and hit Close. And that should pop up this menu. And the Follow Me tool is going to look like this. The little arrow, the little red arrow that's kind of curving inside the brown curve face. And so basically the way this works is you just give it any path. So in this case what I have is I have 3 lines selected and they're all touching each other. That's what makes them a path. So if you have 3 lines that you select and they're not touching each other, this isn't going to work. But in this case what I can do is I can select these 3 lines, I can activate the Follow Me tool, and then I can click on this face, and you can see how what SketchUp's going to do is that's going to extrude this along that path. So you can see how it removed the extra material where the corners are so that everything's kind of a smooth object. And that'll work in multiple different directions as well. You know, if you were to take this and you were to draw your path the other direction and then bring it back and then select this path and do the same thing, you can see how around this corner SketchUp's going to remove any extra material so that this is a smooth corner. So you can use this to go around corners, both internal and external. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. So, you know, more of a real world example is, let's say you had like a wall that you wanted to create a piece of base along, and you have a profile. All you would do is you would kind of draw your profile. Like for example, I would have come in and I would have drawn this. I would have drawn kind of a rectangle and then come in here and kind of detailed out this edge to get me the profile that I want, and then I'd erase the extra. And then all you'd do is you just select this line and then do what we did before, where we activate the Follow Me tool and we click on this face. And you can see how that extruded that all the way along this face. And one thing I would recommend when you're doing this is trying to keep all these in groups. And the reason for that is, otherwise, if I come in here now and I try to like move this around or whatever, my wall's going to move with it. It's going to kind of mess everything up. But if I create that and then I put it in a group like this, Then I can move it around, I can turn it on and off, I can do a lot of different things with it. So, and that's something that you should try to do, is keep your model organized by groups. So don't just have a bunch of raw geometry in here, because that starts to really mess things up. So for more of a woodworking example, like let's say for example that I've got this bookcase in here, and I want to create a trim piece that goes around the front that kind of hides these joints. Well, what I would do is I would come in here, and I've modeled this as kind of groups, so each one of these is its own group. So there's no path in here yet because this isn't a face, but we'll get to that in a second. So what I would do in this case is I would just come in here and I would just detail out whatever it is I wanted to do with my trim piece, and let's just make this really simple. So let's say I just wanted a trim piece that just kind of curves around at the top, you know, gives us a little bit more of a smooth feel. So what we would do in this case, because there's no face in the bottom, is we would just draw a path. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line all the way around the base of this, and then we would just come in here and we would select the line by holding the shift key and clicking on it. So we would select all three edges, we'd activate the follow me tool, and then we'd click on this face. And one thing I would like is I would like to reverse this so that the light face is facing out. That's usually the best way to do this. So I just right clicked on that and I clicked reverse face. But then you'd come in here, you'd activate the follow me tool, and you'd be able to extrude this along this front piece. So now you've got this wood trim piece that goes all the way around the front. So, and again, if you've modeled everything correctly, the way that we just did that, I can just triple click on it. I can right click and I can make it a group. That way I can turn it on and off. I can hide it and unhide it to see the stuff that's behind it. That gets really tricky if you don't do that as you go. So that's a real easy way to add things like wood trim. The other nice thing about this is, let's say that you're trying to add base around a room or around an irregular shape like this one. So this shape has a whole bunch of different lines, and it would take a while to go through and do a shift click and select all of these. I mean, you can definitely do that, but you can see how long that's taking me to do that. You know, you have to go in and shift click 8 different faces. Well, on an object like this, where this is just a face, you can just click on it, and then you can activate the follow me tool, and you can click on this object, and you can see how that extrudes that all the way around the perimeter of this object. So that'll save you a ton of time coming in here and selecting individual edges and that sort of thing. So you can see how that extruded that all the way around. All my corners are nice clean corners, and it should have finished my shape off pretty well. There's a couple missing little objects in here, but it's a pretty good finish in there. You could come in here if you wanted to and just kind of fill these objects in, maybe hide that edge. So, but that's how you can extrude objects around irregular shapes really quickly. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is sometimes you're going to want to use this instead of to add material. You can also use this to remove material. So let's say, for example, that I've got my top piece right here, and I wanted to kind of smooth that off around the edges, so make it so it kind of tapers out. So what you can do is, you can see how right now all this is this is just basically just kind of a raw object. So it's just a rectangle that I extruded to give it some thickness. Well, what you can do is you can give it a profile by using the arc tool or the circle tool or something like that. So if you give it a profile, then you can actually tell SketchUp to remove this material. So if you were to come in here and do this with the push-pull tool, it would look like this. So you'd push-pull this along here, and you'd be able to push-pull it along this face. But it wouldn't work very well trying to go around all the corners. Well, what you can do instead is you can click on this top face like we talked about before, activate the Follow Me tool, and then click in this little corner. And what SketchUp's going to do is it's going to remove the material along that profile all the way along the top of the object that you had selected. So this can be really good for doing things like cabinet doors or a lot of different stuff. But so you can use this to both add and subtract material along both simple and complex faces. So this is probably something that you'll find yourself using a lot as you go. Leave a comment below, let me know what you thought. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing in this channel, please consider visiting my Support Me page on my website. That's TheSketchUpEssentials.com/support. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.